This is a Toyota oil filter cooler. So it started out with a small leak in this old school Toyota 4Runner. And as I was taking it apart, inside of the coolant line that basically cools the oil off, I found this muddy mess. And I'm like, it must have a blown head gasket. But then I poured water on it and it did not act like oil. So it warranted some additional investigation. So cutting open the coolant line that goes to the oil cooler, I found this. Just absolutely clogged. So a hose, no big deal, right? But this oil cooler costs like $400. So this definitely warranted at least taking the cylinder head off the truck. Here's the bottom of the cylinder head. So basically coolant flows in here and cools everything off to make sure you don't overheat. So right away, I find a whole bunch of gunk inside of the cylinder head. And I'm like, this is not good. I'm sure it gets a lot worse. So let's jump in to the cylinder block where things get a lot more messy. Shockingly, this truck was not overheating. So there was a little bit of an opening, so water was going up into the cylinder head, but this thing is an absolute mess. It just basically solidifies and clogs everything. So inside of your hand, when you touch this stuff, it just resembles cement. So there's definitely some kind of sand, gritty material inside of it when you squeeze it. I contacted a local machine shop and I'm like, what's the repair for getting stop leak out of a cylinder block? And they said, pull all the freeze plugs out and put it through their parts washer. So that is not going to be an expensive fix at all. It's going to be very cheap, just like the stop leak stuff. Just kidding. It's going to be like thousands of dollars. So the fun doesn't stop here. Basically, the entire cooling system is either completely ruined or it is damaged and needs a whole bunch of elbow grease to get all this chunky stuff off. Here's another coolant line on the car. So this one is not completely clogged like the first one I showed you, but the rubber inside of it is absolutely destroyed. The thermostat is basically the metal. You could scrape this stuff off and reuse it, but it destroyed the rubber inside of the thermostat. The oil cooler, the first part I showed you, cost $400. So I dropped it into some carburetor cleaner overnight because I am going to be fixing this car. Normally I would push this thing out on the street and sell it as a shell, but this is the one time I'm actually going to fix this. So after blowing it out, I didn't get any chunkies out of it. Would you reuse this if you were trying to save this engine and this car? Let me know what you think. So interestingly, the larger ports like the radiator hoses here, it doesn't actually solidify and clog them, but it does absolutely destroy the rubber once again. Crime scene investigator here. So this truck was absolute freebie someone gave me, and I'm super grateful for that. It's a 1997 Toyota 4Runner. So it has a brand new radiator in it. Anytime you see a brand new radiator, it's kind of sus. Like, what happened? Blown head gasket, radiator stop leak. So here's the tall tale sign. We can see all the brown shit. So basically, it probably had a leaking radiator. You put the stop leak in, and then the radiator exploded. It basically destroyed the cooling system, and he was forced to put a radiator in it. So please do not put stop leak radiator fluid in your car unless you're going to throw it away in the next 6 months to 1 year. So I will be fixing this car. So stay tuned, subscribe for part 2. And if you want to see the 4Runner restoration build, the playlist is on your screen.